Yo.
All right, everyone, welcome into episode number 41 of the Hooley Brothers podcast. Our second ever time having a guest. We have Raymond Lung on the program today. Raymond, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me. Excited to be on here.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, awesome. Thanks for joining. So, coming off of, we didn't really know what tonight's episode was going to be. Was it going to be a series recap, or was it going to be a Game 7 preview in conjunction with the last two games? But Bucks handled business last night. They are crowned NBA champions for the 2020-2021 season here, as they're able to lock it down in Milwaukee, and really pretty much as close to a single-handed effort as you can get from Giannis last night. Obviously you look at guys like Middleton and Drew Holiday. You look at Mike eating some mac and cheese here. I didn't say hi to him yet. But again, Giannis having just an all-time game last night. And I know we Game 5 kind of happened in the middle here, but I think it's just an instant reaction from last night. And what else can I say but crown the man? The man his flowers. He showed up and put just an absolute all-time performance at a Game 6 where Middleton and Holiday really didn't have it going, and scored almost half of his team's points and were able to knock out the Suns in 6 games, 4 straight losses for the Suns to end the season. But yeah, just a crazy game. It's a game that I was even up a while afterwards watching, just because it's such a likable team. Giannis is still such a likable player. But I guess we'll kick it to Ray first. I'm going to Mike. Just overall thoughts from last night's game here.
It was such an unbelievable performance by Giannis. I mean, like you said, do it at 50 points. I mean, what else can you say? 50 points is 50 points. Right. I don't remember the last time someone has such a dominant performance, especially being a big in a league where 3-point shooting is so frowned upon, I guess, because a lot of people just want to just shoot threes and 3-and-D and all that. But he's a big man. All twos, made his free throws, 17 of 19 yesterday. Unbelievable. But yeah, I mean, Chris Middleton didn't have it going, but Giannis put the team on his back. Drew Holiday can't give the dude enough credit for defense. His defense was unbelievable for the whole series, whole playoffs actually, on Devin Booker, especially. PJ Tucker had some good plays on defense yesterday as well. And Chris Middleton, he didn't have a good night, but the series though, I mean, he made some very, very, very tough shots and very clutch shots. So he doesn't get enough credit in my opinion as well, just because he's overshadowed by Giannis. But I would give the co-MVP to him as well for the whole series, because they probably wouldn't have won a few games without him.
Yeah, last night, like you said, it's been so long since he had sort of a big guy dominating. It's literally hasn't been since Shaq back in that Lakers run when he was ran on 3 straight Finals MVPs. Because nowadays it's a lot of the Warriors run. They kind of changed the NBA. Now everyone's kind of going for these 3-and-D lineups and kind of wanting to go small. Whereas last night the more dominant lineup was when they had that huge run that started the third quarter, was with Brook Lopez and Giannis on the floor. Then also Bobby Portis coming in. I think he chipped in 14 points. He seems to be a huge fan favorite on Milwaukee. He might die there at this point. So huge game from everyone involved there. And like you said, Middleton didn't have a shot, but he had that dagger at the end of the game. Right when you thought I think the Suns cut it to 4 after a nice offensive rebound by Crowder. And then you kind of thought oh crap, are they going to blow this thing and choke away? Middleton just came back and hit a really tough shot right in Booker's face. So this team had the championship pedigree. They had to get past that huge hump of Durant in the Nets, but once they got past that, they just showed they had the balls, for lack of a better word, to get through and win a championship.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny too, because hearing about I think my perception of Giannis has changed. Not even, because again, I've always thought he's been amazing, but it's funny hearing you guys talk about him as a big, obviously, because he's not like a traditional center. He's really more a 4, which in today's NBA is almost just like an extra 3. It's a little bit different. So it's funny because it's more he's just a really big 3. And it's now I think he's more of a really athletic big, which is again, kind of a different way of looking at it here. But you make good points about Middleton. And there's an event that I'm going to bring up that, kind of has 2 points here. You go back, 2.5, maybe 3 weeks ago, Giannis's knee was essentially backwards. So one, I think we have to acknowledge, most importantly, the amazing, bounce back from that he's had, that he was able to not only play, but dominate in these 6 games
toughness
here. And then, yeah, exactly. The toughness there. And then also we do actually, kind of while you're on Middleton, they had someone to wrap up that series against Atlanta, and he stepped into that star role. I know Trae Young had his injuries as well, but He did do a good job to get them there, and then also shooting in this series as well. Because again, Giannis had two 40-point games out of 50-point game, but in the middle there, especially in game 4, it was Middleton who did kind of win a very pivotal game for them there, because if that obviously goes the other way, we're talking about a much different series, and maybe the Suns winning in 5 or 6 games versus it being this outcome. So not a great night for Middleton, but a really good series and playoff run overall. I think there was I didn't quite catch the stat. It was something like, I don't know if it was go ahead shots or like clutch shots, however they define that. And he had like the most in the playoffs since Braun. I think I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think they both had 15.
So just again, an incredible run from him, and not so much last night, Mike, but I think my mush worked the last podcast when I pretty much just trashed Drew Holiday's offense, and then he actually showed up in game 5 and really had a good performance. I think they said he had one good offensive game every series, so that was kind of the one he got off there. So just a really good job by the 2 role players there. But kind of just going in, and again, we can kind of get to the celebration here, but what does this mean for the Suns? Because again, they obviously had such a good run. It's tough because you think of this giant window. Obviously, Chris Paul is at the tail end of his career. I think is he up the end of this year? Is that right?
Yes, I believe he is this year, and then he's a free agent after this year, I believe, or after next year, I believe. I think he has one more.
Either that, or
I think
player option, like one more year.
Yeah, because I know the Lakers had reports that they wanted to trade for him today. So I think he's has a player option for 1 year.
Yeah, from Magic Johnson himself.
Yeah, of course.
According to Legally Tamper. But so I mean, going both you guys on this, like, again, what does it mean? Because again, they did have such a good run. They obviously just came up short in the end here. But overall, when we kind of look at this series, and we'll get kind of more into the Bucks in a second here, but before we do that, just kind of the legacy of this season, and then what we expect going forward from the Suns.
I think this doesn't really change anything in terms of Chris Paul's legacy at all. I think he's still cemented himself as a top 5 point guard in the NBA history. But in terms of if he won, I think that would have added to his legacy. But I don't think this loss would have hindered it by any means. But Devin Booker is still only 23 or 24. He's going to continue to be great. DeAndre Ayton had a pretty bad game yesterday. He had a pretty few easy layups. But he's also only 22. So he'll improve. And Mikal Bridges, can't say enough about him. He's a great 3-and-D. Not even 3-and-D. He could do everything. And he can fit anywhere. And Monty Williams, I think this was a good learning experience for him. I think this is his first time going this deep into the playoffs, his first playoff finals run, and same with Mike Budenholzer. But I think Budenholzer had a little bit more playoff experience and definitely did more adjustments throughout the series. So I think if the Suns won this game or the series, it would have been a dynasty or the beginning of one. But I guess we'll see what happens with Chris Paul, because Chris Paul really changed the way that team played and the way that team defended and the culture there.
Yeah, and then even if, let's say, Chris Paul wants to go, just the fact that they made this run, it's good to say, like, okay, Monty Williams has proven himself to be a fan, like a player favorite as an NBA coach, and everyone's going to want to go there to play. Even Phoenix, pretty good weather. Like, it's not like a big city, but like you're not like coming up to Boston to freeze your ass off.
No.
Yeah, it's hot.
Maybe like, I don't know, someone like
there's partying down there.
Yeah, because even like if you have that slot open, let's say like Kawhi doesn't really want to play that much with Paul George, maybe that's someone they can go after as like another like wing to help, because then you can maybe have like Booker kind of run the offense with Kawhi, Bridges. What can we say? Like I said, I was a huge fan of Miles Bridges as the series went on. I feel like he really bounced back after a rough games 3 and 4, and he kind of kept them alive in games 5 and 6. And like you said, Aiden had a bad game in game 6, but he really had a great playoff run, and he's really kind of gotten back up there, and like maybe not on the same level as Trey and Luka, but like AK like wasn't that big of a mistake. Like he didn't like pass on a bad talent. It wasn't like a bust out of number 1. So it's there. It's just going to have to wait and see how they can actually compete in a full playoffs with a healthy NBA, because they beat the Lakers, but they're a little bit hobbled. No Nuggets didn't have Jamal Murray. Like I said, Leonard didn't play in the Clippers series, and so there's a lot of flux out there. So it's want to see like how they can bounce back and play with a full NBA healthy season.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point, Mike, about people wanting to go there now, and I think it's it's a destination, like you said, it's not in the middle of nowhere, so it's not like that. But you also have 2 young stars to play with, and then also good role pieces there as well. Like you said, a players coach and Monty Williams, they all kind of go together well. I think you'll see free agents go there for sure. And kind of just going off of that, it is tough because I think when this series started, I'm like, I'm gonna be fine no matter what happens out here. I'm fine with either outcome, which I kind of really haven't felt in a while. But I think as it got on, I was really leaning more Bucks, and I am happy that they did win the series. Just because, again, obviously different from Chris Paul, but guys hopefully will be back. I know we've talked about it before, Mike, about young teams like that never quite made it back. You look at the Magic in the '90s; they never quite made it back after that series that they lost to Houston. But again, I think the future's bright for this team here, and we'll kind of transition. I think when we talk about the Bucks here, but I mean there were some injuries obviously with both LA teams that they were able to get past. Get Denver without Murray, like I said, they was kind of an injured player every round. So yeah, I think it was easier, but I mean you play who's in front of you can't really fault the team for that, which is kind of again how I'm going to pivot back to the Bucks here, because also shout out Booker. I think he had a fantastic series, obviously in the best game last night, but he's truly a star in the making there in Phoenix. So a lot to be happy about if you're a Suns fan, but you're obviously way happier as a Bucks fan, kind of going off of last night, because I know I luckily haven't seen too much of it today, so I didn't get too pissed off. But like again, the fact that you did see a bit of a you didn't face 100% strength Nets team, and then out west, obviously you got maybe a Phoenix team that's there, but maybe they were a year early and didn't run into one of these LA teams out here. So I don't know. Again, like I said, you play who's in front of you, and again, I think at the end of the day, you go back, you're gonna look back, say this is the only one Giannis wins, and I don't think it's going to be, but say it is, you're not gonna remember that this season was weird and had injuries. You're gonna see in the record books, Giannis won a title. So I think that's something that I don't know. I want to get your thoughts on both of you here, but I mean, I don't feel like this is cheapened in any way.
No, it's not. Injuries happen throughout the season. And it wasn't, most of these, every season has an NBA injuries. And in terms of, how hard it was, I believe it was hard because of the COVID and everything, but also he did it himself. He shaded a lot after the series, on the podium about super teams and whatnot. And I mean, it is kind of true. Yeah. He could have went somewhere, but he stayed with the Supermax, and he did it himself. He did it his way. And he did have some help with, facing a Hawks team that wasn't ready to be there, like you said. And, the Nets didn't have Kyrie or Harden. But yeah, I mean, it was hard. Every NBA Finals is hard. But you got to face what you got in front of you, and you got to just give it all you got and win. And he did that and put up 50 piece in a closeout game. So there's not much you can say about after that. I mean, he cemented himself as one of the greats in today's game and all of history.
Yeah. To go off that, of course, every year is injuries. For instance, we always have to acknowledge, Durant tore his Achilles in 2019, but you're gonna remember more of the run that Kawhi and Fred VanVleet went on.
The Raptors won, yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna remember that, and I think the looking back in 5-10 years, the injury you're probably gonna remember most from this playoffs was Giannis, hyperextending his knee, then coming back and having 40 points in a 50-point game in a clincher, where what was it, 50, 15, and 5 or 14. I was like, come on, that's ridiculous. So I think because
you never
no matter who you play, 50 points in an NBA Finals game is 50 points. So
you never really imagine or wonder the what ifs that would have happened in those playoffs or any playoffs 5-10 years from now, not even probably next year. All you remember is that one chip and who won. That's really it. There's no really what ifs, and I think that's even more impressive. I think the way they did it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think something too, we talked about these, and I did kind of want to hit on that because he did kind of I don't know if he wanted to, but again didn't throw any specific shade, but just kind of mentioning the whole super team aspect of it. It's he didn't get by the Nets, but they kind of stacked the deck anyway. So a team with getting past a team with Kevin Durant, and then even 50% James Harden, even Blake Griffin where he's at. That's still a very good team. And they beat him in 7. They beat him in Brooklyn after being down 2-0. So you won 4 out of 5 games against this team, even if they were a little bit hobbled. Because again, Durant was, pretty much healthy the entire series. So, and he's one of the top players in this league here. So I still think that's an impressive win. Avoiding Philly, that's Philly's fault. There was nothing wrong with them. They were injured. They didn't get there. That's not their problem. So, again, like I said, you kind of play who's in front of you, and then
they would have
it was more Simmons than I think they were injured, but that's another topic.
Right, because again, even if you think Embiid and Giannis might have like canceled each other out a little bit, Middleton would have just like I think would have eaten up. You know what I mean? And they wouldn't have had anything else on the outside. And Holiday would have locked down Simmons. It would have been tough. So again, congrats to the Bucks. Again, it was an awesome series. I truly, again, I stayed up pretty late last night just because I wanted to see all the celebrations. Because again, this is just such a likable team. Giannis is such a likable star. I wanted to see everything he had to say. Obviously, great moments in the post game with just kind of taking it back to his family. Obviously, you feel a little bit for Thanasis, who was stuck in his hotel room with the whole COVID situation here. But great just connecting back to his family, his moment with Chris Middleton, who he's been on the team with for 8 years. And just that moment where he sat in that chair on the baseline right afterwards and just kind of like looked up and you could see and he's crying. Just an absolutely just truly awesome moment there for Giannis, just kind of just seeing him in his element. And also I do want to give a quick shout out to Malika Andrews, who I just realized is only 26 years old and I thought did a fantastic job in the post game there.
Yeah, I remember like kind of like Silver was like she had to like reintroduce Silver because like he messed up and then like going through just like let Giannis speak, like let him have the moments like it was like, hey Chris, we did it. Like that was like an awesome moment. And then just like Bobby Portis and like have him like have his moment talking about how he was like going through depression last season and coming to Milwaukee kind of like really saved them. Just like having that question ready. Like I bet she didn't expect Bobby Portis to run on the stage for all that, but she just went with the flow and did a great job. So that was like one of the better, more memorable post game like championship pressers I'll probably remember. Probably the last one I remember is Cleveland, this is for you. And then before that, Bosch like getting confetti in his mouth.
Yeah, she did a fantastic job in the bubble too as well last year.
No, I mean, it's just it's so crazy because like again, having been in that world for so long, just like usually how long it takes you, even if you're like really really good, you're usually like in your 30s before you're hitting that. I cannot believe she's only 26. Like that blew my mind.
It won't be her last. It won't be her last for sure.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's the fact that she's already on the stage at such a young age, and also like again didn't really have any hesitancy, ask good questions. There weren't really sometimes those dumb questions that get asked really post game, but I again think she did a great job. But yeah, just kind of going back to the post game, like it's funny you mentioned like the most memorable. I do have to say that the most memorable parade moment might have been the Kawhi laugh, which was awesome, obviously. When he did that thing. And then exactly. And then I also love too. Did you see the moment with Pat Connaughton and Bobby Portis?
Oh, was it like how much champagne you drank
on NBA TV?
Yeah,
and they just like both look at each other and start laughing. Yeah, that was awesome. And then obviously between last night and today, Giannis has been dropping some fantastic content, especially the Chick-fil-A drive-through.
Yeah,
getting that 50-piece nugget. I'm like, how do you not love this guy? Like it's insane. Like
not 49.
I truly don't think there's been a more likable NBA player. Yeah. No, and seriously, and I know things kind of change like once teams get in the spotlight and start dominating, but like I don't think there's been a more like universally liked basketball player in a really long time like Giannis.
Yeah, and for someone so dominant to be not from the US to be an international player, it's bringing the game to new heights, like how my MJ did back in the 90s. I think it's so good for basketball. Like Jokic is probably the best center, one of the best centers in the league, if not the best. Got the MVP this year. I think the NBA has just gotten so much better globally. I think we're going to talk about the USA Olympic team later, but everybody in the world is just catching up to the US, and I think it's such a good thing for the league and just good content to watch whenever they're on TV.
Yeah, even just like a simple.
It's funny too. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna simple as the finals MVP was from Greece and the regular one was Serbian. Is that Jokic? So, and those aren't two like
no, that's
is that Bogdanovic or?
Well, yeah, actually, no, you're right, Serbian. Sorry, I was thinking because Lucas
Slovenia.
Yeah, so okay. Yeah,
So
I got them.
so like
got those countries mixed
even
up.
going off
Slovenia,
that,
right? Yeah. See, I even messed it up again.
Slovenia, Greece, like
Yeah, we got Slovenia. We got Luka, who's also not here. So
and like those aren't like
Will
outside of,
probably
like
be an MVP one day.
outside of, like maybe like Greece, like when you think about like international powerhouses that like usually like are in contention for gold medal at the Olympics is like Argentina, Spain, maybe like Brazil is usually pretty good. Like you don't think of these countries and the fact that they have like the most dominant players coming out of them is like you say, great for the game internationally.
and can we say?
Right,
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was.
So I saw a tweet this morning or yesterday saying like Giannis and LeBron. Giannis didn't pick up a basketball until several years ago, maybe 10 years ago, maybe 10 or 14 years ago. He didn't pick it up until very late in his
it was 07,
young life.
Yeah,
it was 07, I think, and they were saying how LeBron's been to the finals
13,
for 14 years straight, and
LeBron
or
made
10
the
finals in a row. And he didn't touch a basketball when he first made the finals in 07 or 06. And I mean, that just speaks to how good Giannis is as a player and how special he is.
Yeah, like I'm considering him a power forward. He might already be like the second best all time behind like Duncan. Because I mean, like a lot of the guys usually kind of do like smaller center, like Elijah wants like or LeBron or Jordan or like small forward shooting guards for like power forward. It's like he might already be like number 2 behind Duncan. It's like 2 MVPs, Finals MVP, Defensive Player of the Year. Like, does he have a scoring title, or am I just making that up?
No, not yet.
Yeah, so
he
like
doesn't have scoring, but it was that fact. Yeah, did you see that fact earlier, Mike, with him? And it was like 2 MVPs, a DPOY, and a Finals MVP. It's literally him and Jordan.
Yeah, and he's 26.
Yeah,
he's 26 exactly. But yeah, again, fantastic series. That's the thing too. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Like, were ratings down? Were ratings really down? I thought they were actually doing well. But anyway, I loved this finals. Not that I'm going to tune in every year, no matter what, obviously, but just, one, I thought it was a very competitive series, and 2, just seeing new teams in there, new faces, not, I'd see a super team that you're rooting against or for some reason. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a fantastic series, and I wouldn't hate getting more of these in the future.
Yeah. And can I say, it's so good to have fans back. The first time I saw fans back on TV was fantastic. It makes such a big difference when you play at home, especially in the playoffs when you're, it just makes such a big difference. Noise, the cheering, it just unbelievable. It was great that the NBA kind of finally got, some crowd in there.
Yeah, especially with Milwaukee and Phoenix being like 2 absolute characters of a fan base with like the rave atmosphere in Arizona, and just like the people are just going bananas in Milwaukee. Like the 65,000 people outside last night was like the smallest. In like one porta potty. Like, who does that? Like, I don't think.
Right. Absolutely. It was great. Like, and the NBA actually did a really, really good job with the bubble last year, and it was certainly a unique experience. But
they did it.
Great to have packed houses again. And what else can we say? Bucks 2021 champions, and just again, great run for him, great for the Bucks, great run for Giannis, really starting to cement a fantastic legacy. Again, he's already been an all-time player, but really driving it home with that title there. So before we hopped on to actually, why don't we do it? I mean, good transition here is obviously a tough loss for Devin Booker, and now is he about to hop on a flight with Middleton and Holiday on Friday after just winning the title and going to Tokyo?
Yeah, that's
is
can't be good. Can't be a good feeling. That's the plan. I don't know if anyone's going to back out at the last second, but all 3 of them are supposed to be going to Team USA.
Yeah, I didn't know Booker was on Team USA. I know. Oh no, I did.
Yep.
I did. I didn't know Drew Holiday was. I know Chris Middleton was. I didn't know Drew Holiday was, because I watched a few games and they weren't on there, obviously. But that should be an interesting Olympics. We've had a few questionable losses here. But I think with the league being so international now, all the teams are catching up, and unless we're sending the best of the best, I feel, because obviously we got Tatum, who's a budding superstar. We got Bradley Beal, who's a budding superstar. Who's a superstar? Zach LaVine, a budding superstar. But we don't have, the A+, the Steph Currys, the LeBrons. We just have to work harder. I feel like when I've watched these games, it's more it's not that they don't care. They're just not, giving their heart out like every other team. Because we were always
I hope they don't.
No, yeah. I mean, every time I watch, it's more like we're always being one that's hunted. But we used to just outplay we don't even have to outplay anyone because our talent was so good. But now every other country's talent is so good and so much better. That if we don't try and if we don't play hard, I think that'll come to bite us in the butt later.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, kind of usually sending. Oh, sorry, yeah, Mike.
No, go, Sean.
No, all I was gonna say is like again, I just remember I was telling you the other day, Mike. I remember like in 2008, 2012, like we had like multiple time all-stars that weren't making the team because it was so competitive. It's like literally like these are our 12 best domestic players here, and again, it was like a shock that like someone like Anthony Davis made it before his rookie year, even in 2012. But those are just all-time teams, and now we got Keldon Johnson and JaVale McGee finding their way in this roster. I'm like, they shouldn't even be sniffing it. Like Keldon Johnson should be on the select team, and JaVale just shouldn't be anywhere near it. And again, nothing against those guys, but those are types of guys that are starting for like, all these other countries, like maybe like an Australia or like a Spain team that's like, oh, they're really good. It's just, they're not quite the USA tier. So yeah, I know it's different. I know between the shortened schedule, COVID, all that stuff. Like, again, we're not maybe getting, I'm hoping we return to some sort of normalcy in 2024 and we get a really stacked team again. But again, I still think they're going to win gold, but I mean, I'd be less shocked.
It's a lot harder
in years past here. Yeah.
The thing is
if you're getting full teams.
I don't hate some of these like role players getting added to this team because like, I don't think JaVale McGee is going to be looking for a shot. And the fact that it's feeble roles and his athleticism, like you can like goaltend more. I think that's like for what we got, it's like wasn't a bad pickup.
I don't know. It's just so tough because we're not even talking like, I don't know, like I know he's obviously an American, but like a Clint Capella type, who's like a really good player, not quite like a top tier, but like it's just like JaVale McGee, like he's like not even playing.
He's on track in the full more than anyone.
What's that?
He's on track in the full more than anyone, and you got him on USA with us.
Right, exactly. So I mean, hey, well, again, I'm thinking. I mean, we still have Kevin Durant, who's like again one of the best players in the world. Like you said, Tatum, Dame Lillard, and all that. So I mean, we're still very top heavy, and I think one of those guys could take over. I still think at this point we should have sent Carmelo, one of our greatest Olympians of all time, over. But
got 4.
It's true. That's true. Or wait, no, is it 4? No, he only has 3 because we lost it 04.
Did we lose in 04?
Yeah,
they didn't win in 04.
Oh, he's got 3.
That's why 08 was the redeem team. Yeah, but still more than
medals.
People There's still more than people could say. He has 4 medals. Yeah, because we get bronze that year, I think. But I don't know. I mean, it's funny because obviously I always want the USA to win, but I'm like, I was having my eye on the other medals, and I don't know. I feel like they were a big disappointment last time around, but I really have high hopes for Australia. I really hope that they have a really solid NBA roster between Patty Mills. I know kind of Dellavedova's moved over there, and then we have Aaron Baines too. But if they had Ben Simmons, they could really be cooking. But obviously it's not playing. But I want to watch the few good players in this. I'll cut him some slack for the Olympics. I'm not saying he's going to win an NBA championship, but
I mean, I just think the funniest story in the Olympics would just be if Luka just single-handedly wins it with Slovenia.
That would be hilarious. Or even if he gets a medal, like that'd be very. Because again, you have your Spains, Australia here. We talked about Argentina.
Spain's always been very good.
Yeah, because those guys,
they're usually right in there in coming silver.
Because even if they don't come in the NBA, they just know how to play with each other. Like Spain basketball, it's like a program.
Mm-hmm.
So
these are
just like all stars.
It's like the same guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think one of the advantages that the international teams have is they're all programs, so they played with each other for so long. Whereas NBA, the US team, everybody's kind of just selected and they haven't really played. It's more like pickup game. Whereas international, you've been on the same team or played with everybody for so long that you just know each other's chemistry and where each other is going to be. And it also doesn't really help that the top maybe 5 or 6 guys in the league are international players out of the top 10. So it doesn't really help, in our regards that, to send our top players when half of them are international. But yeah,
And
it'll be a good, interesting Olympics for sure.
And like you said, I feel like a lot of the hurt players were actually American, because it's just like Anthony Davis, Jaylen Brown, like guys like like saying like all like fringe all stars that probably would have made it this year, like Jaylen Brown. Brown is one, like even Jamal Murray. Like I feel like he would enjoy a tournament like this a lot. And like Mitchell, he's a little bit banged up right now. He didn't want to play, so I just feel like a lot of those, a lot of the USA guys were just really banged up. Where a lot of the international guys are like dying to go play for their country. Like Luka, he had a long year. Like after the bubble, long year playing a lot of minutes in the Mavericks. He just so happy about playing for Savini. He went right there. I feel like it was like 2 days after the Jazz got eliminated, Bogdanovich was playing for his country. If don't get it wrong, so I'm just gonna say his country. So
yeah. No, for sure. And I think an interesting point here too, because again, obviously, having this is so uncommon to have such a short time period between the NBA finals and the Olympics. So, that's usually wrap it up by mid-June. So there's usually about a month between the two. And I have to wonder if, because we're already like reeling, we have Keldon Johnson and JaVale McGee on the team. That's why maybe some of these NBA finals guys are still going. It's like, please, we have no one else to pull from. We need you guys to show up. Because again, I could see it both ways. Like if you're Booker, you might just like want to be done, whatever. But also maybe you do want to kind of just get back to playing, get back to hopefully winning here. That'd be great. But if you're Middleton and Holiday, I just want to party the rest of the summer. And again, maybe this is like the only chance they'll get to play for USA. So I do kind of get that. And that was maybe some motivation to wrap up last night so they can have their parade. I'm assuming tomorrow, and then on a flight on Friday.
Yeah, but that would be very like. Just like know how NBA Twitter looks at Chris Middleton. It would be very Middleton-esque about like him finally like getting over the hump and getting the respect he gets across the NBA, and then like joining Team USA and they come in 5th and just getting dragged.
Yeah.
Remember we put over a team of USA.
It depends on how much
of Chris Middleton and this.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll see.
I don't know. If I was Middleton and Drew Holiday, I would definitely try to play. I think I'm just kind of more old school, where if I'm not injured and I can do it, then I would do it, especially to represent your country, because you could only do that one every 4 years or 3 or 4 years, I guess, depending on if you're playing in the world, the FIBA World Cup, or FIBA one. But yeah, if I was to me, I would probably just go. If I'm young, I'm not terribly old. I'm not too old. I'm not, Drew Holiday's only 31. If I could play, then I'll play. If I'm not hurt, but
especially like those guys, like, okay, like they weren't good enough to make a team the last Olympics run because they're probably too young and still working on their game. And by the time the next one comes around, they're not like LeBron that's going to age like a fine wine and be like able to like do as much as they can at 35. So like, this is like, okay, if this is like Sean said, the one shot, they'd probably want to take it regardless of how tired they are and how much they want to celebrate a finals victory.
Yeah, and I guess the good thing with Team USA too is, again, I keep junking up those last two guys, and I think Keldon has a lot of potential there, but just down the line here. But again, you can shorten your rotation. You can keep it to 9 or 10 guys. Those will kind of be the last two in the end there. Hopefully, if they're playing, we're up like 40 points and have things wrapped up. But no, it should be exciting. It's always kind of fun to hop on there, especially when there is a little bit more of a chance that we could lose. Maybe it'll be less blowouts, but no, it should be fun, and we'll catch some other matchups there. I think our first game Sunday, Sunday morning at 8. So against France. So all I can say, and Mike, we talked about this a few weeks back, but Ray, one thing I'm very disappointed in is that we don't get to see Canada in this, because that was a team I was really looking forward to, and they couldn't qualify.
Yeah, Canada. I'm not even sure who is Canadian. I know a few. I know
they had like 9 guys, I think, or it was a lot of people. It was like it was RJ Barrett was like one of the leading players. Nikia Walker or Alexander Walker, or I think kind of the 2 bigger guys on the team. But no, they had like a lot of NBA talent on the
Wiggins.
roster. I think they ended up. Wiggins, yeah, Wiggins was playing. Yeah, they had talent there, especially looking at that. Did they end up losing? Was it Rick Pitino in Greece that they lost to?
No, I think it was.
Oh no. They were in the same. They were in the same qualifying pool.
It was Thomas Satoransky killed them. I think that's like the Czech Republic.
You're right. Yeah, no. They were in the same pool as Greece. Sorry, that's what it was. But yeah, I'm disappointed not seeing them. I'm also. I totally get it, especially for this run in his leg, but it would have been awesome if Giannis played for Greece too at some point, because I don't think we've really seen that. So I think one of his brothers might have been playing. I think Costas might. I don't know. We'll see though. But anyway, but yeah, kind of hopping back in while we still have you, Ray. Kind of, I guess we'll keep it more macro, and we'll focus on the Celtics. I think there were some early odds that already came out for next year, but who we're looking at to kind of be a team that maybe, something we do expect, something we might not expect to kind of make a deep run next year.
I'm sorry, you cut out there.
Oh, sorry. Just I'm saying, as we kind of take an early look to next season, and I know we still have the draft in front of us here, but just some odds came out, but just kind of who we're expecting, maybe some names that we do expect, some that we don't expect to really make a deep run next NBA season.
Obviously, I want the Celtics to make a deep run. I think the Hawks obviously made a surprising run this year. And I think they'll only get better, especially with more chemistry and more time with Trae Young and his surrounding cast. But we got to see what John Collins is about to do with his contracts.
Right.
Because he's a big piece as well. The Celtics could use him. I don't know. I think in the East, it's kind of wide open after the Nets and the Bucks. I don't think the Sixers. I think they're going to have to blow it up with Ben Simmons and Embiid. As much as I like Embiid and Simmons, I think they could make it work, but Simmons just needs to shoot the ball. But I think in the West, you got to get Damian Lillard some help. But with the Celtics, I think we just need a point guard. I think too much of last year was obviously with Jaylen Brown ascending as an offensive player. I think we need someone to get them the ball. It was a lot of your turn, my turn kind of thing. And I think we just need someone like a Chris Paul or a Rondo. I think I said sometime earlier this year, I think we should have traded for Rondo at the trade deadline. I think it would have been great to get, Jason Tatum the ball or Jaylen Brown the ball. I think we just need a playmaker. I think Marcus Smart sometimes tries to shoot too much. He sometimes tries to do too much on offense, try to assist, try to shoot, just try to be the point guard when he should just really be the defensive player and just 3-and-D, I guess, essentially. But I think we just need an actual point guard, like a point guard minded player, not like a shoot first point guard like a Kyrie or a Kemba, because we have two great scoring guards and wings and Tatum and Brown.
Yeah, and that's kind of something I wanted to bring up as well, because I don't know if this is because, again, it sounds like you want to kind of go in a different direction there, and I don't necessarily disagree. It's just I'm wondering if Smart's, again, in his role, he's been playing a lot of two, so maybe that's why he's been more, on the trigger there. If you completely switch his role to maybe being the starting point guard, again, he might still do that. That could definitely be an issue, but I'm kind of looking at a model like Milwaukee where, maybe not quite the caliber, but a similar type of player like Drew Holiday, where, he can have these scoring bursts at times, but for the most part, he is a defensive minded player. And you're getting two wings of the ball, like you saw with Middleton and Giannis. So again, I think it would be a tough transition. He's not quite the same traditional point guard that Drew is, but you got to wonder if that's like, the Celtics kind of looking at what just happened. Is that a model that can't work if you either can't find a point guard or kind of spend the money in other places?
Yeah. And then even just like, what money do we have?
Right, yeah, especially when we just traded back for Al Horford, taking on his contract as well.
That'll be interesting.
With Robert Williams there as well, I think it'll be good to get Al Horford some rest. And I think we did really well with Robert Williams in the lineup last year. Unfortunately, he was injured a little bit too much. But with him in the offense, we did really well. I mean, defensively we were great, and offensively he can pass the ball really well. But I would like to see him foul a little bit less, but that would come with experience and times with the ref and good relationships with the ref. But I think he's a keeper for sure. I really like Robert Williams. Yeah,
and I think maybe the tutelage of Horford will help.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because
even and that's the thing to it. Yeah, sorry.
Even sticking with Robert Williams, even at a point like I like him, I don't want to go anywhere. But if he can like become something, and that's like a chip, if we wanted to bring in that third superstar, like a Beal or whatever, like having someone to be like, oh, like I dangle out Rob Williams if he can like show up and be like a amazing like third piece of like an average team to like have a piece go in with draft picks. So that's another good thing to think about with him. So him just getting the minutes and hopefully becoming like having the flashes become an everyday situation is something that I really want to see.
Now, speaking of point guards and scoring guards and whatnot, would you guys do a trade straight up for Jason Tatum, for Damian Lillard, but you would center it around Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown?
I think
I think there'd have to be another piece in the works.
I think I say no, but if it happens, I'm like, oh, cool, we have Dame Lillard. Like, if it happens, I'm not going to be sad, but
I agree. Yeah.
I would do it.
Yeah. I'm a huge Dame guy. I still don't know if I do it just because, again, you're just aging up like, what, 6 or 7
He's 31.
years there. Yeah. So, again, in Brown's, what, 24, I think? So, yeah, I think all you're doing is kind of aging up. You're shortening your window a little bit. Obviously, I think you're getting a little bit better in the short term. But I think at a certain point, you're kind of, just switching one out for the other. Obviously, our guy Greeny likes the pictures of Beal, Lillard, and Tatum. It's like, well, we could somehow do that. I'll give up Jaylen Brown. I think that makes a little bit more sense. If we kind of just strip the roster and get the two of them, now we're talking. But I think if you're just kind of doing a 1-for-1, whether it's Beal or Dame, I think you're kind of just looking at, again, a slight improvement in the short term. But if you don't win it in that window, you're kind of, really jeopardizing that. And then maybe Tatum's even more likely to leave there. So what about you, Ray? Would you do that deal?
No, for the same reasons you did. You mentioned. I wouldn't, just because Dame Lillard is 31. As good as he is, I mean, he probably only, especially because he's a point guard, and he's taking a beating. He might have 3 or 4 good years left in him. And he'll always be clutch. He'll always be able to shoot. But Jaylen Brown's 24, and Jason Tatum's only 23. I wouldn't risk it for 2 or 3 years of good championship run when we can have over 5 or 6 or 7 with Tatum and Brown. But I think our championship window is there. You can never grab Lowry. He's the rock for that team. But yeah, I mean, I think next year is definitely going to be interesting, especially with everyone being healthy and the league and the world is going back to normal. I think with less COVID protocols and people not being out on the protocol list, I think next year will definitely be a more interesting season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's funny because it's, it's almost a little silly to do these because, again, what they always say is, a lot of times the off season is even more exciting than the regular season. So what we're thinking now, what these teams look like, it could look completely different. I saw the Warriors are very high odds. Obviously, you have Clay coming back, but he hasn't played in 2 years. Like, is there something we don't know there? I know there were rumors of Dame ending up there somehow, maybe because they have that chip in Wiseman and a top pick this year. You got to package those together, maybe getting another player in there.
And the money of Wiggins to
So you talk about Dame being on the move.
Oh, I would love that trio.
Oh man, I don't know.
I'm the biggest Curry fan there is. I love Steph.
Man,
I think if that happens,
I'd liked him early, but sorry.
If they can get all 3 in the same court, I actually think they should have the offense where you just like create a ring about one of the shooters.
What Steph did. Go ahead, Sean.
No, I'm saying it's crazy to think in that scenario you'd have a situation where Dame Lillard was the 3rd best shooter on the team. Like it's insane.
Unbelievable. And what Steph did this year was to even bring the Warriors into a playing game is unbelievable. And he's 33 now, I think. But with his game, I don't think it'll age at all. It'll age well, at least, is what I'm trying to say. Because all he has to do is run and shoot. I mean, Ray Allen played it until he was 37, 38.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
And comparatively to the NBA, his team didn't make the bubble last year. He didn't make a deep playoff run this year. So
with the league being so soft, it's not soft, but
like no hand check
it's not
anymore. Like perimeter defense is a lot. It's a lot tough to guard there. So that's what makes guys like Jrue Holiday so valuable. So
right, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, but again, you talk about that. You talk about Ben Simmons potentially being on the move. Like I said, with the draft coming up, that probably won't impact anything too much in the short term. But that's a night where we might see some pieces get moved around. But yeah, I mean, the good thing is, like, I get, unless something crazy like that happens, we obviously have the Nets that probably have the most super team type structure, but again, I don't think that's proven to have been able to do anything yet. So you have them, you have the Bucks. Who knows what Philly ends up doing? We'll see if the Celtics get the rack bet together. And then out west, you're talking about both LA teams going to be back in the mix. You have the Suns, who are against still up and coming. We'll see where Chris Paul ends up if he ends up opting in there. Denver's coming back off of obviously a huge injury to Murray. You get that team back together, and then as much as we clown on them, the Utah Jazz were again the best team by record in the league this year. So that's another team. So it's pretty open. I mean, again, and apologies if I cut out here at all, but I just think a lot could be open here.
Yeah, and then even like that was a laundry list of teams you named. You didn't even name the Hawks out east, and then in the west, like there's still like the one trick ponies of the Blazers and the Mavericks, and then up and coming
Pelicans. The Grizzlies.
Up and coming teams like the Pelicans and Grizzlies. Like who knows what will happen? The coaching change of Willie Green for the Pelicans. Like maybe just Zion finally finds what he needs, and like I'm kind of interested what they'll do. I kind of want to know. I think draft night might be big for them. With I wouldn't be shocked if Lonzo gets moved in a signing trade that night. So I wonder if they get a couple pieces in the draft that might be able to help Zion and Brandon Ingram out. So that's a team to also watch out there. So it's wide open. Like even if it's only like the top like 5 or 10 can win, the next level after that are all entertaining teams. So definitely watch in day in and day out. So
yeah, absolutely. But yeah, again, a fantastic year, like you said, Ray. Great to have everyone back in crowds coming off the bubble. Hopefully we can get back on a more normal schedule. I don't know if that's the plan. Maybe a not quite a short off season as this past year, but try to get back on the normal schedule here. But again, hopefully having fans again. Hopefully things will take a bit of a downturn here, but hopefully seeing fans in the building the whole season, getting back to where we saw closer to 2 years ago. But yeah, I mean, no, this was great. I'm glad you were able to hop on. Any other final notes for us here, Ray, before we sign off?
No, I got nothing else. I'm just glad that you guys could have me on. I'm excited. Hopefully you guys will have more guests on. And looking forward to looking what this podcast looks like.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I'm glad you came on here. And I think some sort of season preview might be in order for come around in the winter here. I think that'd be fun to do, kind of when we have more to kind of digest. We know what these teams look like. Again, it was great to do the recap, I think, right after game 6, and then even just kind of looking at the playoffs as a whole. But yeah, no, again, it was great. And like I said, thanks for hopping on, and here's to another great year next year.
Yes, sir.